What is up, my fellow Sackers? Sackface here, today with a video about Ab0. This card causes a lot of ruling issues, a lot of headaches. So I just want to go through a bunch of common rulings I see involving this card. And some of these rulings I've gone through in my previous videos, but I'm just going to go through them again today because I feel like I want to just consolidate everything in one video for Ab0. So here we go. So the first thing I want to go over is that Elemental Hero Ab0 is mandatory when it leaves the field. The destruction effect is mandatory. And I know that's really obvious, but I'm going to go through a few situations why that's going to matter. So in this case, my opponent's board is beyond stacked, and I'm going to attribute 0 for Caius. So Caius is also mandatory, and in cases like this where a graveyard effect is mandatory, like Sangan, Ab0, etc., that card is going to be Chainlink 1. So Ab0 is Chainlink 1, and then Caius is Chainlink 2, and let's just say target Dark End. So the chain's going to resolve backward. So Dark End gets banished, my opponent will take 1,000, and then Zero's effect is going to go off. Now, because both effects are mandatory, the chain is built like that. Like, you know, Zero has to be Chainlink 1, Caius has to be Chainlink 2. So Stardust can't negate Zero because it's not being Stardust can't chain directly to Zero's destruction. So Stardust won't get a chance to negate Zero, so the board is also wiped. So that's just a cool interaction to know that, you know, Zero or Sangan, whatever, is going to be Chainlink 1 in this case, and then Caius will be Chainlink 2. Another reason why Absolute Zero being mandatory is in situations like this, you guys already know what's going to happen. Shura versus Zero. So Gale's going to have Zero, and then Shura's going to attack over it. So what happens here is Zero obviously goes to the graveyard, and then since Zero is mandatory, Zero is always going to be Chainlink 1. So Zero's going to be Chainlink 1, and then Shura's going to be Chainlink 2. It doesn't matter whose turn it is since Zero is mandatory and Shura's optional. So Shura's going to go off as Chainlink 2, and like obvious. Oh my god, don't look at this. This is just whatever deck. This value is going to come out, and then Absolute Zero is going to blow up the board. So yeah, just another reason why Absolute Zero being mandatory is a relevant issue. So this next one, I've gone through it a few times in my other videos, but regards MBAAS Shield and Starlight Road against Absolute Zero. Basically, it's really hard to use these cards effectively against Absolute Zero. So in this case, if I were to attack over Absolute Zero goes to graveyard, its effect goes off. Well, since it's the damage step, you actually can't use Starlight Road. Starlight Road does not activate and cannot work in the damage step. It's kind of confusing, but basically, since it doesn't negate the activation, it negates the effect. There's a slight difference there, so since it doesn't negate the activation, you can't use it in damage step. And in Edison format, spell cards that negate actually can't work in the damage step. It's only monster and trap cards. So I cannot activate either of these in this case. Okay, but now let's say it's the main phase and I activate Darken's effect and I send Absolute Zero to the graveyard. Absolute Zero's effect goes off. And here, since it's not damage step, it's the main phase, I could activate MBAAS Shield and Starlight Road. So that does work. I negate Zero's effect. But in the case of Starlight Road needs to destroy the card it's negating in order to bring out Stardust. So since Zero is activating the graveyard, you're actually not destroying Zero because it's already destroyed. You can't destroy cards in the graveyard. So you don't get Stardust here. You get the effect, but no Stardust. So that's not good either. However, if you say you compulse the Absolute Zero or like Wind Blast Absolute Zero and send it back to the extra deck, one, I know in Modern, Zero will not work. Cards in the extra deck don't get their effects when they're sent to the extra deck. But in Edison, they do. And two, cards in the extra deck can be destroyed. So Zero will go off in the extra deck, and I could activate Starlight Road here, and it would actually destroy Absolute Zero, because cards in the extra deck actually can be destroyed, and then you would still get Stardust. So that's pretty cool. So probably the weirdest ruling with Absolute Zero is when it's face down. It doesn't really make any sense based on how it's worded. So say let's say I booked it, and I use Darken's effect here. So if it was like Dark End effect, Compulse, Nobleman, anything that removes it off the field while it's face down, or just sends it anywhere off the field while it's face down, Absolute Zero does not activate, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It literally doesn't have the clause like while this card is face up. Fortune Lady Light, which has the same wording as Absolute Zero, works the same way, as in Fortune Lady Light also does not work while it's face down. However, Fortune Lady Light got an errata eventually, saying this card must be face up, and Absolute Zero has been reprinted a few times, and it still doesn't say while this card has to be face up. So it doesn't make any sense. It's literally a BKSS because Konami said so, that this card just does not work while it's face down. Like the wording should say like while this card, if this face up card is removed from the field. This does not work though. People get this confused a lot. If it's face down, and if I were to attack over it, well, attacking flips it up, right? So it gets flipped and then it gets into the graveyard. So it's still face up it's still face up when it gets into the graveyard if you were to attack over it. So its effect will still activate and your field will blow up. So that doesn't work. So you have to remove it while it's face down, not attacking. Okay, and a for fun ruling that actually came up when I first started playing Edison. It revolves Herald of Orange Light or like Divine Wrath, something that can negate an effect, right? It revolves that and Interdimensional Matter Transporter. So people are probably like, what the hell does this card do? This card is an old card. This was like when I was playing Playground Yu-Gi-Oh! I was using this card. But there's actually a new deck that came out that's actually using this card, Water Mania, the Water Polymerization King of the Swamp deck. Whatever. Point is, this might come up. I don't know if it will, but it might. So this card, it removes Absolute Zero and then brings it back. So when they activate this card, Absolute Zero gets banished and Absolute Zero's effect will go off. So what happened to me before I got pretty experienced at this game was I was like, what the heck happened? Like, can I negate with Herald of Orange Light? And does it destroy the Absolute Zero? Well, so I went through a bunch of rulings and asked a few people on Discords, and basically what I figured out was you can negate it. So I could use Herald of Orange Light, pitch a fairy, and negate it 0. But cards that are banished cannot be destroyed. So what ends up happening is, sure, you save your guys, but Absolute Zero just comes back. You can't destroy cards that are banished. So Absolute Zero just comes back through Interdimensional Matter Transporter and is ready to kick your butt again. Man, Dimensional Transporter is like low-key kind of good in my opinion, but that's a topic for another day. But yeah, I just wanted to put that fun fact out there. Everyone, thanks for watching. If you like this type of content or just like Edison format in general, please consider subbing. I'll be doing my best to make more and more of this type of content for you guys. Thank you.